John was no stranger to peculiar items. His small home was filled with relics from the past. His evenings were often spent browsing auctions online, where he'd occasionally find rare trinkets or vintage books. But on that particular night, something odd caught his eye. A wooden wine cabinet inscribed with faded Hebrew carvings, and what seemed to be some symbols burnt into the wood. The listing had an unusual description: haunted Dybbuk box. Warning, do not open. It claimed that the box had once belonged to a Holocaust survivor who had used it to trap a spirit. A Dybbuk, in Jewish lore, a restless and often vengeful entity. John chuckled. Haunted items were common gimmicks in the world of online auctions, but something about this box intrigued him. It was both worn and beautiful, with intricate craftsmanship. He ignored the warnings and placed a bid. The box arrived 3 days later, packed tightly in old newspaper. The moment John touched it, he felt a chill run through him, a tingling in his fingertips. Shrugging it off, he placed it on his mantle, admiring its craftsmanship. Little did he know, he had welcomed something truly malevolent into his life. The first few days with the box were uneventful, but John's curiosity grew. He invited his friend Sarah over, who was fluent in Hebrew, hoping she could translate the inscriptions. "It's a warning," she whispered, tracing the worn carvings. "It's supposed to keep something inside, a Dybbuk, a spirit that clings to its host and drains them. If these carvings are broken, it might escape." A chill settled over John. He laughed it off, though Sarah seemed genuinely unnerved. That night, he dreamed of a shadowy figure whispering in his ear, urging him to open the box. It wasn't long before strange things started happening. At first, it was subtle, a draft of cold air, shadows flitting at the corner of his eye, or the feeling of being watched. But each night, the occurrences grew more intense. John's nights were filled with eerie sounds, footsteps echoing down his empty hallway, whispers in Hebrew, and once a soft laugh that seemed to come from the box itself. The weight of the unseen presence settled over him like a blanket, thick and suffocating. Every time he considered getting rid of the box, something held him back, a compulsion that he couldn't quite explain. The Dybbuk's influence tightened its grip on John's mind. He became reclusive, canceling meetings and ignoring calls from friends and family. Sarah noticed the changes and confronted him, horrified at his disheveled appearance and haunted eyes. "You need to get rid of that thing, John," she urged. "It's not just an antique. It's something else. Look at yourself. You're sick." But John couldn't let go. He found himself compelled to sit with the box for hours, listening to its whispers. His dreams were now dark and twisted, filled with images of the spirit reaching out, merging with him. Realizing he was in too deep, John sought the help of a local rabbi named Rabbi Eliyahu, who was known for his knowledge of Jewish mysticism. The rabbi agreed to perform a ritual, though he warned John of the dangers. The exorcism was intense, the room filled with the scent of burning incense, and the rabbi's chants echoed in every corner. But as the rabbi tried to cast the Dybbuk out, the air turned freezing, and an invisible force threw objects across the room. The rabbi stopped, his face pale. "This is beyond me," he admitted, shaken. "The spirit is too strong. It's bound itself to you." The Dybbuk's hold over John deepened. He began losing time, waking up in strange places with no memory of how he got there. Once he woke up with scratches across his arms, the words "let me out" carved faintly into his skin. His nights were plagued by visions of the spirit merging with him, their faces blending in the darkness. He saw himself through the Dybbuk's eyes, an interloper in his own body. Desperation took hold. John tried to get rid of the box by burying it, tossing it into a river, even setting it on fire. But each time, he found the box back in his home the next morning, pristine and untouched. The Dybbuk seemed to laugh at his attempts, feeding off his despair. In a last-ditch effort, John researched ancient Kabbalistic rites to sever the Dybbuk's hold on him. The ritual involved confronting the spirit head-on, something that could cost him his life. He set up a ritual space in his basement, surrounding himself with protective symbols. As he chanted, the Dybbuk materialized, a shadowy figure with hollow eyes and an insidious smile. Their confrontation was a battle of wills, a tug-of-war between man and spirit. As John recited the final words, he felt the Dybbuk's hold loosen, its screech fading into silence. But he collapsed from exhaustion, his fate uncertain. Weeks later, John's home was sold, and the box found its way into an antique shop, waiting for the next curious buyer to release its curse.